Okay, I'm back. Work comes first, but I got done what I need to get done. So it is time to go back to the fun stuff. Which right now is learning shader graph. I know we're going wicked slow right now, but I figure, look, man, I can check the box and say the outlines are done, or I can use this opportunity to learn a little bit more about shader graph. It'll probably take a couple hours to make a stupid outline, but I learned shader graph in the process. That's just a massive W.
This Eevee model that I used in
So,
my
okay, wait.
if
I
you're
need to
like
finish
quick,
this part,
quick is the normal scale.
and then we can go back.
They will still have the same thickness of an outline. So just really quick, I wanted to explain how this system works so that if you're like me and you wanted to know how to get it, you can now. So I kind of explained how the object thing works. So it takes the normal vector, which is the perpendicular line to all the planes on an object, and then it normalizes it so that they're all worth like 1 power, so they are all the same strength. And then this part takes the outline scale, the outline size, and makes it consistent with all scales of an object by dividing it with this scale. And then worth like 1 power is it to it takes the normal vector, which is the perpendicular line to all the planes on an object.
Sure. So I'm picturing like every single face on this object having a line going straight out from it.
And then
With
it
a magnitude
normalizes
of
it so
1
that
once we
they're all
normalize.
they're all worth like 1 power, so they are all the same strength. And then this part takes the outline scale, the outline size, and makes it consistent with all scales of an object by dividing it with this scale. And that multiplies it to that. So it makes if we put in the multiply just as the vector position as is, you can see it makes a little orb in the center here, which represents just the directions with the scale of the outline. So it'll just be all the directions that are possible. So up, down, left, right, all that, all the angles in this little orb with the radius of the outline scale. Because when it gets added to this, it'll add the position of each vector, so it'll just go around the object.
Cool.
If that makes any sense. I hope that makes sense. Back to your
That makes a lot of
scheduled, unscripted, but outro CG.
Yo, what's up, Roy?
So that's it. That is the best.
We're learning shader graph right now.
I think you could find on how to outline an object in Unity.
Okay, I get it. I think I actually get it. Let me see if I can build it without even looking back at the tutorial. That's probably a terrible idea. For one thing, I don't even fully, even though I've been staring at this stupid thing for a couple hours, all told, over the last month, I still don't feel like I fully get it. Why am I getting a text? It said YouTube featured. I have not a single clue what that's supposed to mean. Not gonna lie, I don't know. I've never seen that pop up on my recommended before. YouTube featured? That's interesting. No clue. But okay. So the question is there's a couple of different, maybe it's because you watched a YouTube video on stream. Maybe. I really don't know, bro. I really don't know. There's a couple of different pieces to this shader going on, obviously, that are converting a texture into our normals, and that's like really complicating this, not gonna lie. But how this is ultimately going to go is we're going to have it was called a normal vector, I think. Yeah, normal vector. Then it goes into a normalize, which feels redundant because why is it called a normal vector if it's not normalized? But sure. And then we add the scale. Okay, it was a float outline size as of divide by scale. Maybe. How does that work? Object. Oh, like this? Maybe. Something like that. I'm trying to do this without looking back so that I can learn it better, even though it's a little gnarly. Then it becomes a multiply. This and this. And then that should give us the eventual thing we need. And then let me double check that that's what he did and then see if I can understand where to plug that in ultimately. See how we're doing. Then add the position. Okay, yeah. Because the normal vector is just the perpendicular directions, but it's not, okay. Geometry position? Is that what it is? Yeah. Add. We add the position of each node. The issue is I don't know if world position will work for that. Because I don't know if that is the real world position. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see. We'll see how that goes, but I'm kind of nervous about that.
This system works so that normal vectors.
Ultimately, what does that then get plugged into?
Center here, just as
the final addition
vector position as is, the
left is right. Not even linked to anything.
Object.
GG. What?
That makes no sense. Unscripted, but outro model, that is fine. Objects.
He must have just disconnected it while he was doing something else.
Multiply. And save that. Scale. I did. End it with this. What the outline is really also as and
this is so interesting to me.
It looks really good. We want end with it now as what we are gonna do. Outline material. Weird. It's because wow,
this was really early on in the video. Rip. I can't see. It's going into vertex.
Create a node. I use something different.
Vertex position?
Different.
No, there's gotta be something else we're doing.
Material. And then we're going to add this to the vertex.
Why are we adding it to the vertex?
If we...
What's being plugged into the color? What?
Make it better. Okay. So... they're actually going to add this. I'll show you what more tutorial is that you can just do that. Make sure also that your thickness starts out at a normal number, like we're going to call this 0.1. Most tutorials will just
plug it in there.
They're actually
okay. So what's currently in vertex position? It's right here, right? So I think I have to. Do I add that then? 2? That's kind of absurd, isn't it? Can maybe I do another ad block? That might be what it is. Let me try that. So add this and this and output that there then. We'll put this whole block up here as like its own area for all of the outline logic. Let's just see what that does. Nice. That's awesome. That's so awesome. He said also be careful that the outline starts to a default value that's somewhat reasonable. We'll call it 0.1. Does that fully just erase them? Mm-hmm. Well, damn. That's not ideal. It's funny too because when I look at it in here, it doesn't look. Hmm. Okay, we're gonna figure this out. There's a couple of possibilities going through my head right now. Go to every material in here. Okay, yeah, those are fine. That's good now. Okay, it's time to compare then, right? It's very possible that I did it right, but it's not quite right for that. Hopefully not. Let me just go straight through this.
The dice game makers toolkit 2022
Again.
game jam project. What you want to do is in edit, you should see a rendering, and it will tell you to switch to render the universal render pipeline. And
obviously, I haven't yet implemented the thing he did with the custom shader to make it only show the background, but I want to just get it looking the bad way first.
You might want to upgrade your materials
and then
into URP.
We'll consider doing the fancier way he did it.
This EV model that I used in my example scene, so you can see what is happening. All right, so as you can see here, we've added in our EV. Let's also scale him down and bring him in so you can see him. And we're going to want to make everything as small as possible so we can add in a shader asset. Right here, we're going to want to create shader graph, URP, unlit shader graph. And we're going to call this outline shader graph. Let's double click to open it up, and we're going to put this in a side window so that we can see what happens to our thing. So for this, to start, we're going to make a base color. We're going to call this outline color. And we're just going to plug this into the base color. There we go.
Oh.
Next, we're going to
create I never made a color.
That's not what I want. Vertex, normal node, normal vector. Close enough. And that one, we're going to go from object. So that'll take from the object's vertices.
That is problematic.
And then we're going to normalize this, which will make it so that every arrow, every normal will have the same strength so that the outline will be the same width on all parts of the model. We're going to multiply this with a new vector one or a float called outline thickness. This is just a number that's going to be our thickness. And what most tutorials will tell you is that you can just do that. Make sure also
normal vector, normalize, multiply.
Number, like we're going to call this.
The question is
1.
Do we really trust that normal vector and position, that needs to be object for one thing, right? These both need to be object. Let's fix that. But do we trust that these things are local? Because I sure don't. I sure don't. So we'll have to watch that. It's tough. Okay. Yeah. This is a weird one, huh? Truth be told, I don't know if we're getting anything out of that. But let's do this. Let's bypass it for now. Save that. Watch everything pop back into place. Now, here's the funny thing. Is like, we're adding that. We're not replacing with that. We're adding that. And we're getting nothing. I don't get that. To be honest, I don't really get that. That doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't that infer that that's somehow just the inverse of what we want? How does that happen? Like, I don't get that. Okay, we're gonna just do something funny, okay? We're just gonna simply add 1 on everything and put that in, okay? And just see what that does. Okay, it literally changes the scale. No, it changes the position. Does it change both? That's pretty crazy. What I'm trying to say is just anything added to a number that works, resulting in a oh, oh. Maybe because it's moving the position. Maybe this does exist and it's just really, really far. That makes sense? Hmm. That's tricky. Huh. Could I debug this somehow? Like print? How do I like see this? Does that make sense? Uh, Dude, I don't know. Like, this is such a gnarly intro into shader graph to try to get this done on something that probably doesn't even have vertices in the traditional sense. Like, I don't even. What's the move at this point? Huh. Let me check that, by the way.
with a position node. And we're going to take that from the object as well. And then we're going to add this to the vertex. If we make a material with this, create material outline and turn off shadows. And it doesn't work, just the back. You can see it blows up the model and adds an outline, but it also hides this. So what you can do is in here, you can render just with this material currently, line material. This is what I do.
Where is it? Where's the division?
Really gross. What you're gonna want to do is in project settings, so edit.
Nope.
I just take out this because we don't actually need it. If this nose looks really gross. So what I do, see they have the same outline. And then put this into the multiplier.
There we go. Okay, let's see this.
To make it better is I would divide this by the object scale. So object scale. And then put this into the multiply.
Yeah, I did that right. Yeah, that all looks fine. Okay. Well. Huh. Okay. It's hard because, like, I don't know if these nodes are working or not. Preview 3D. Can I, like... What? Do not know what that means. Okay. Well, what if I just did a normal vector from the object and plug that into position? What would that do? Gone. Okay. Sure. Position plus sampling of the texture. Pixel size, divide, combine, add. 2D LOD. Eventually going into normals. Because this... Oh. Oh. Hang on. Couldn't I just plug in what's going in here also into there? Right? And then this could go into here. And then this could go into here. Oh, it rendered. Oh my gosh, that worked. Oh, I feel like such a genius. Okay, they're chunky now. Dude. Wait, this is gonna work. Oh my gosh. So then I have to somehow make the color of those different, or I have to make... Okay, let's look back at what he does here. I can't believe that just... That made sense. That actually made
And
sense.
stop if you want, but I think this is good. We're going to only render this objects. First, objects. We're going to make a new layer, and we're going to call this out. As you can see, that didn't do any render pipeline as you can do here. Nothing changes. So now what you're going to want to do is in project settings. So edit project settings, and then let's just put this here. In graphics, you can see we render using this Unity render pipeline high fidelity render pipeline asset. And in the inspector, this uses a renderer. We're going to want to create our own renderer. And we can do that by going in here and create rendering URP universal renderer. We're going to call this custom renderer. Now, we're going to change the high fidelity pipeline asset, and it will render with our custom renderer. Now, as you can see, that didn't do anything. So in our custom renderer, we can actually do things. We're going to make these, we're going to take out their outline material, first of all, and then in layer, we're going to make a new layer, and we're going to call this outlined objects. And we're going to relayer their layer with outlined objects. Now in our custom renderer, we're going to render everything except the outlined objects. So in the rendering feature, we're going to render objects. First, we will render the outlined objects, but we don't want to render the outlined objects. We want to render their outlines. If you like how they looked before model, that is fine. You can keep. I don't, so I'm showing you how I like it better.
Come on.
Again, you can stop if you want, but I think this is good. We're going to only render this material, and at a depth that is less equal. And we're going to render that after rendering this skybox. Then we will render objects again, and only the outlined objects. and we're rendering those before rendering transparents. And then if we tick off right depth, boom, we have now made it so that the outline only appears around
so
the
it
object.
still does require
The
separated.
one drawback with this outline, I will admit, is that
Right? Huh? No. Yes? Dude, this is such a crazy way to do it. Because if I do that, then it's gonna outline everything in the entire scene? Question mark? I don't even fully understand how that works. He's saying first render that specific material and then render that specific material, then render everything. Oh. Oh. That's why he made a layer. That's crazy that that works. Okay. So in that case, I do need to just have it be fully separated. I hope that still will work, given our setup. I'm not fully confident that it will, but it hopefully will. Okay, that was still a good exercise though, dare I say. So then we would need create shader graph, unlit shader graph, outline, mine. Then we're gonna literally undo all of this, sadly. Not actually though, we'll just copy a bunch of it. Let's take all of this, delete this, save. That should, yep, pop that back in. And then we're just gonna, can I? Oh, I can, that's awesome. Move all this over here. I'm gonna feel like such a genius when we finally get this working, dude. This is such a great, genuinely such a great exercise. Oops. That goes in there. We need normal vector in here. And then we need, yeah, that's fine. Just make this object. And then this should all go into here, position. And then we'll add a separate one for color. Oh. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just make it always be white. I have been interested in learning how to do this for so unbelievably long, and it's just really exciting to finally do it. You know? Like, it actually is just super exciting to me. Uh, that changed nothing. If I were to put this on literally anything else, would it work? I'm afraid that it will. It totally does. Damn. So therefore, um, these won't work. That's what I was afraid of. How are we gonna get that data to it? You know what I mean? Like that's the whole problem. It is funny though. Dude, we're so close. Hmm. Somehow, some way, we're gonna have to do it all in here. I think. If we can't get that to work. I don't even know if that's possible though. Advanced options? It has to be. Wait, that might work. What if it's just a matter of controlling the queue? One's 2000. We'll set this one to 1000 and then we'll set it to 3000. I'll put it after some of the shadows, which is interesting. Okay, that didn't work. That also didn't work. Fuck, dude. We're so close. We're so close. I just know we are. Let's talk to GPT real quick. Two different shader graph shaders. Uh, wow, that was weirdly hard to spell. um, Shit. That's what I was afraid of. Yep. Wait, it does though. Wait, does it? Does it go into his texture though? Good question. Could I read back? Could I read back that positions? Albedo, maybe. No. No, this, because this is all of them over time, right? Like, kind of doubt that'll work. It's gonna have to do it all somehow in one shader. Unless okay. Oh, wait, because I could just do the same. Wait, I could just do the same fucking thing. I could just copy it all. I could just copy all of this. Duh. Except for the color part. Wait, hello. I'm kind of stupid. Yeah, this is way simpler than I was thinking. It still makes sense to do this on separate shaders, too. Okay. We need everything up to the point where it drags into here, right? So basically, all of this minus this needs to be copied. And then we just set all of these same things. Now, unfortunately, does do reference that position? So I don't know how it's gonna go doing his fancy thing, but one issue at a time, one issue at a time. This is insane, dude. This is such a crazy process, actually. This would become the position block. Just think how satisfying it's gonna be when it works, though. It's gonna be so nice. Uh-huh. This will go in step. Okay, wait. I forgot which one's which. Bottom one's normals. This one goes instead of normal vector. And this one goes instead of object position. Now all we have to do is make a bunch of similar named variables. What a gnarly process. Awesome. Okay. We need so many variables. We need frame count, time position, Vat normals. Emissive, smoothness, metallic. No, we don't need those. Okay, that's not actually that bad. Frame count as a float. Time position as a float. And vat normals. Surely we need vat positions. Where's vat positions? Where's that referenced? At the very beginning. Yeah. So these are all textures. Okay, this is not that bad. Let's do it. It's probably really overkill to have the normals in here, but hey. Now this goes in the very beginning, right? It goes here, and it goes here, I think. Yeah. And then we need normals just here on the sample 2D. Right here. What? Oh, I saved this as the wrong thing. And then we need each of these here, and they just get multiplied. Which block now? Is it all this shit? Yeah. That, okay, frame count times time position. That's everything, I think. Yeah. Make sure those transferred fine. They look great. And then we've got a bunch of like hard set numbers. I don't honestly know why, and don't really need to find out. And then it goes into here, and we have a set. That should be good, man. That should work. Let's go ahead. Whoa. That looks crazy. Okay, let's go ahead and get this to start working. Weirdly enough, having nothing in these textures, it still fit the right shape. I don't know how that happened. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That worked. Oh my gosh, this is gonna work. This is gonna work. Okay. Now we set this to back. The only thing I haven't clicked yet. Nice. Now we'll turn down that number a bit and see how messy it looks right now. Low-key, not even that bad. on. Oh boy. That's pretty funny. Something like that, probably. It does look a little funky, yeah. Okay, let's work out that error. We've been through this before, haven't we? Dude, that's actually working. That is so cool. I'm yeah, we'll figure it out. I feel like there's a way to do it without going through that whole crazy process. I don't know. But yeah. Okay, this is complaining really here. Interaction 137. I need to somehow like let this be an exception to the rule, basically. They're both the same line. Line 137. How would I check that? Like, don't be that if it's is that how that works? Let's see. Dude, we're getting it. We are getting it. Sure enough, showed up right away. I still got an error. Which is awkward. Graphs outline, mine doesn't have property color, but this time in line 138. What? How did continue not block that from ever happening ever? Huh? That's weird to me. There's something else that it's grabbing. What's it grabbing? Material dot get set color. Can I do that? Probably. Maybe that'll avoid the error. Let's see. Okay, clearly it didn't. Oh. There we go. Okay, no errors now. That's a good start. Let me add it to the. Let me go ahead and add it to the predator as well. Nice. Okay. See, at this point in time, we are probably 90% of the way there. And it's just a matter of cleaning it up. And he did that funky way of doing it, of essentially rendering the back piece before rendering the front, and that's okay, but I'm just nervous that then there's no way to edit the parameters, because the parameters are different for each object, and they're also different depending on where we are in the animation, because we need to be able to scrub it.
That outlines do not render over each other. But I think that's fine. You can see if we add a Q only render this material. And at a depth that is less equal. And we're gonna render that after rendering this sky box. Then we will render objects again. And only the outlined objects. And we're rendering those before rendering transparents. And then if we tick off right depth, boom, we have now made it so that the outline only appears around the object. The one drawback with this outline, I will admit, is that outlines do not render over each other. But I think that's fine. You can see if we add...
I'm wondering if there's a different approach. Like, because I don't see that working with my workflow. I just think it's gonna be messy. Now, we could probably take advantage of the fact that the camera is always looking from this direction. Right? Potentially. I'm wondering if it would have to do somehow with that. But I don't think that'll work. Let me just confirm that again. Let's talk this through. Holy yap. I think that was the context I need. And my camera, or not my camera, my mouse just died. Let's get that fixed. There we go. Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay. No, because stop, 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 stop. Because am I wrong in saying
A cube, depth, boom.
that
That is
we have
so.
deleted it entirely?
Find objects. And we're going to take out their outline material, first of all.
Yeah.
And then in layer, we're going to make. So in our custom renderer, we can add our own renderer. And we can object settings, and then let's nothing changes. So now we need it if we just render the back face, as you can do here. Nothing changes. So now,
Yeah, I'm right. You're saying it still applies the material. I don't think that's true. I really don't. Render objects.
boom, we have now made it render the outlined objects. And we're gonna relayer their layer with outlined objects. Now in
There's
our custom
no
member,
outline
we're gonna
material anywhere in the
render
scene.
everything except the outlined objects. So, in the rendering feature, we're going to render objects. First, we will render the outlined objects. But we don't want to render the outlined objects, we want to render their outlines. If you like how they looked before we did this, with the outline over the model, that is fine. You can keep it like that. I don't, so I'm showing you how I like it better. Again, you can stop if you want, but I think this is good. We're going to only render this material, and at a depth that is less equal. And we're going to render that after rendering this sky box. Then we will render objects again, and only the outlined objects. And we're rendering those before rendering transparents. And then if we tick off right depth, boom, we have now made it so that
won't work. That won't work. As an object with an override material, Unity still uses the renderer's material property block when binding shader parameters. You're not setting parameters on the outline material, you're setting parameters on the renderer. Any shader used to draw that renderer can read them. What do you mean? Outline render. Render is drawn. Pipeline swaps the material for outline shader. Shader reads. Are you sure? Really? Bind renderer level properties to the override material. I'm setting them What? What, dude? Okay, what are you talking about? I'm setting them on a as parameters, like on the material. They share the same parameter names, but I have to set them in the inspector, right? That's my whole point. That is my entire point. Material property block. What? Okay. I feel like bro, I can't keep arguing with GPT. If it's not gonna understand the specific thing I'm saying, I'm not gonna try to explain it to it. I'm gonna try doing it, and it's not gonna work. That's my best theory, unfortunately. Create. Watch. Ready? Rendering. What was it? Create. Where the hell is it? Where is it, bro?
Outlined object. We're going to take out that didn't do anything. Render with our. We're going to call this custom universal renderer. URP universal.
It is in rendering, but I don't have it. Create. Rendering. And then it just doesn't exist. That's so cool. That's awesome, dude. Custom render texture. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Nope, nope.
Renderer. We're going to call this custom. We're going to change the high fidelity pipeline asset, and it will render with our custom renderer.
Where is that being set? I don't know that I have one of those. If I did, where would it be? Uh, 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 uh. You don't seem to have the ability. to make one and I don't understand that? What? Oh. This one? Yep. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Huh. Well, is there a package I need? There's gotta be a package I need, right? Window, package manager. Registry pipeline. Are you telling me that I am not currently using the URP? Because that doesn't feel right. That doesn't seem right at all. That's really hard for me to believe. You think I'm using the standard? Really? Really? You think I'm using the standard render pipeline? Then why do these render? Uh, uh-huh. What? I'm using the default render pipeline. That's crazy. I did not know that. Okay. I don't know why these are even rendering. That's so weird to me, but okay. Sure. Whatever you say, man. Look, okay. It's good. Uh-huh. Yeah, something like that. Can I do camera? Did I somehow use this to say like, let me think. How would that work? How would that even work, bro? Hmm. Positions plus world normal. Camera output position. Subtract the two, normalize them. Subtract the camera position from our world position and normalize, giving us a direction. Then, okay, let's do that. Okay, so this position down here. I think. Which one's position? No, this is position. Subtract that from this. And then normalize. Yup. What? What would happen? Okay, what would happen if I just put this in instead? Right? What would happen? Okay. Cool. That was something. So you're saying instead of adding them, do a cross. Cross this and this. And then somehow double that? What happens if I just drag that in? Why are we crossing twice? I'm gonna try to just trust it, I guess. I don't know. Cross it, then cross that result with the view direction. No. Cross that. Do you know how little sense that makes? Yeah, and no surprise, it just completely broke. I'm doing right now positions normalize times outline size. You want me to do normalize cross view direction and normal view. That does that. Nope, didn't get it. Didn't get it. Mm-mm. Get world normal. Get world position. Get camera position. None of that made any sense at all. I can do every bit of that, I think. So far enough back? Oh shit. Bro, come on, dog. Okay. Did I go too far back or what? No, I'm still not far enough back. I'm still doing something with that, which doesn't make any sense. Keep on doing until you get back to, till you get camera deleted. How did we do this much? What? I'm scared. I'm so confused. do I just drag this past there to here? That's all I have to do? That's all I have to do. Oh my gosh, it's broken. It's making me upset. It's making me very mad. That broke now too. What? Okay, I should have saved. I don't know where I am at this point. Weirdly enough, it remembered the second one we did, but not the first. Not sure how that's humanly possible. But it's no longer doing anything at all. Great. Well, it's not on here, so that'll do that. It's like I undid everything in the scene, but nothing in where I currently was, which makes no sense at all. Wow, that's awesome. Mm. Come on, dude. Let's just get it back to the 90% that we had it at. You know what I mean? Do I have all of these hooked up at least? Bat positions, time position, frame count. Bat normals. Yeah, those are all hooked up. Okay. Then we do sample, and this goes, the bottom one goes straight to normal, and the top one goes straight to position after subtract and after add. Add goes up here, and subtract goes down here. Is that right? Is that right? I don't remember. I'm getting so confused. Outline width divided by the object scale goes into multiply with what? With the, and then we add the position. Yeah, that's right. No, all of this is correct. All of this is fully correct. That's really scary. Oh, is that right? Are they both 2500? I don't know. No, this one's 3450. Dude. Oh my gosh. It's so much worse than it was. It was fine. What did we just do, bro? I'm so annoyed right now. What is happening? That is clearly the correct inputs for everything. That goes to 0.06. Oh. Mm. Why are we normalizing the position though? What if it's just that? What if that's the only problem? Thank God. Okay. We figured it out. Okay, I mean, because, like, again, like, that is almost exactly what we want, right? It is so close. In fact, I almost wonder if all that I did is, well, it's really ugly around, like, the ears and eyes. And, like, I could add it to the eyes, potentially, and see how that looks. Oh. Oh, every single one of those has its own thing. That's right. I don't know. I feel like I almost want to just leave that for now, like that, because I mean, it's really good still. And wow, did it become a massive pain as soon as we try to do anything else at all. This has been a gnarly process, but damn, I'm okay at shader graph now. That's cool. I know a little bit. I mean, looks pretty decent. I almost wonder if we should, like, just handle animation and come back to that, because it's, oh, that's so ugly right there, isn't it? Really, what I want to do is just have it say, like, if it's not on the outside, ignore it, but the outside is relative to the camera. I don't know. I feel like we could come back to it. It's really, really close. Vat broke outlines killer. We're gonna call that done for now. And I'm gonna upload that and say custom outline for VATs. And then we could work on animations. But that's all I got. That's all the time that I got for today. Okay, well, that was really aggravating, but it's progress nonetheless. Cool. Fascinating. Learned a lot of new things.